Think about how much of your daily anxiety comes from things that don't even exist yet. Paying rent next week, deadlines at work, a 5-year plan you aren't sure you even want. Psychologists call this constant simulation of tomorrow prospection. It's one of the most expensive cognitive operations your brain runs, and it burns enormous amounts of energy mapping out every possible scenario. So what if you just stopped? What if you permanently disabled that part of your brain, surrendered completely to the present moment, and became a creature of pure impulse? Psychologists call this present hedonism. Within hours, cortisol levels drop and the physical noise of stress vanishes. Without the weight of tomorrow, the body stops bracing for a future impact that is no longer coming. Sensory experiences take center stage. Because the brain isn't filtering the world for future threats or rewards, colors look more saturated and textures feel more distinct. You are grounded in a state of total, focused presence. But this freedom is a dangerous trade. Abandoning the future doesn't stop it from arriving. It merely removes your ability to influence what happens when it gets here. This sensory high eventually hits a wall. Humans rely on a cognitive tool called episodic foresight, the ability to mentally time travel. When you lose this, you stop maintaining the systems that keep a life running. Practical decay sets in first. You stop brushing your teeth or exercising because the payoff for those actions exists only in a future you no longer acknowledge. Money is spent on whatever provides a spike of pleasure right now, regardless of the bills due next week. Relationships feel the strain next. Trust and commitment are essentially future-dated contracts. If the concept of later doesn't matter, an apology or a sacrifice today has no logical payoff. When a promise becomes inconvenient, you have no reason to keep it. This happens due to a breakdown in future self-continuity. Your brain treats the person you'll become as a complete stranger. Feeling no connection, you easily steal from them, trading their financial security or long-term health for immediate comfort today. Without a bridge to tomorrow, you lose the capacity to endure any temporary discomfort. You become socially isolated and entirely unreliable because you are only as good as your current mood. The deepest consequence, however, is entirely neurological. Most people think of dopamine as the chemical of pleasure, the reward you feel when you finally get what you want. But dopamine is actually the neurochemical of anticipation. The biggest surge happens while working toward a goal, not after reaching it. By deleting the future, you delete anticipation. Without milestones to chase, the brain's primary engine for motivation simply shuts down. Carefree living eventually morphs into a flat, existential apathy. The mind becomes a quiet, empty room, where nothing feels important enough to warrant an action. You aren't at peace. You are just numb. Without the friction of building towards something, the present moment loses its flavor. A life with no destination eventually collapses into a state of total, featureless repetition. To find a way out, we have to distinguish between destructive neglect and healthy non-attachment. True mindfulness isn't about ignoring the future, it's about not being enslaved by it. Ancient Stoic and Buddhist philosophers still planted crops and maintained their health. They just stopped white-knuckling the results. They performed the work for the future while remaining grounded in the effort of the day. Modern behavioral science provides a framework for this. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo spent decades studying how our orientation toward time dictates our mental health and success. He called this the balanced time perspective. His data suggests the healthiest minds borrow from all 3 time zones. They draw identity from the past, extract dopamine-driven motivation from the future, and use the present to execute the work and enjoy the ride. The goal is to care enough about the future to plant a tree today, but remain present enough to sit in its shade. Ask yourself, are you actually living in the moment, or are you just avoiding the person you'll be tomorrow?